Guys, welcome to what is going to be a series of a handful of videos here that are intended to break down the rules that I have created for the Defiler on Parade rule system that I've been working on. And what you see before you is a fan-made scenario card roughly representing the Battle of Jena, with the Prussians at the top, the French at the bottom. Now, our primary area of concern for this demonstration is the French at the bottom. And with these commands and colors scenarios, why I've taken an interest in them is because there is a plethora of them available, and a number of them freely available online for you to access and quickly set up a game on your table. Things to bear in mind is for this Defiler on Parade system, or I guess we could call it DEP for short, so I don't have to say that over and over. We are not going to be looking at the left, the center, or the right, or any cards that will be drawn to drive these sections. That is strictly a commands and colors rule system. Does not apply to what we are doing. We are simply looking at the scenario setup card. And right away you will notice that on the scenario card with the French, we have statistics assigned to each leader. This has been done by yours truly, and there's a number of ways to do this. You can do this, I suppose, in a historical manner. As these leaders' names are listed, you can determine if Lan should be perhaps higher or lower, or Ney should be higher or lower. Your ratings extend from 10, -3 all the way down to 6+1, going from exceptional to incompetent. Another way you could do this is a kind of a chit draw random system. Place a number of ratings chits in a cup and draw one for each leader. Suppose that will work fine as well. Or just use your best judgment like I have done here. Actually more of a random placement. This 7-0 is not a historical reflection of Ney. It is more of a kind of random placement of assigned leader ratings. So we'll start with your commander-in-chief. He is always going to be your highest rated leader. For us, this is the 10-3 here. I typically try to place my commander-in-chief in the center of what's going on. I don't suppose that is necessary or imperative, but it's typically what I do. And it also tends to work out better for the flow of the command structure as we conduct roles. And then that branches out from there. So what you would do during the command phase is conduct a roll for your commander-in-chief first. Now, as he is a 10, you would roll 2 dice 6 and need 10 or less for this leader to be in command. If you are successful and he is in command, any other leader within 3 hexes, or if you're not using hexes, say 12 inches, would be in command. So for our purposes, this 7-0 would be in command, as would this 8-1 also would be in command. Now this 7-0 over here, 1, 2, 3, is too far away from our command reach to qualify for this commander-in-chief successful command roll. What does that mean? That means he would have to then roll for himself. Now 1, 2, 3, you could argue if this guy was within command range of him with a higher rating, we would be more likely to roll him first, who would then automatically bring this 7-0 in command. But again, 1, 2, 3 hex range is surpassed, so we simply need to roll for our 7-0. And let's assume we do so and get a 5 on our 2 dice 6 roll. He is then in command. That said, we would then come to our -9, -2 and roll for him. And assuming he rolled an 8, he would also be in command. That also means that any unit, this is a unit for example, any leader that is command has a 3 hex range. Any unit falling within that 3 hex range is then in command. So for this gentleman here, this unit, this unit, this unit, all of these folks are in command. Let's see. Same would work for over here. Our 10-3 was in command, so that brings him in command. That brings him in command. 1, 2, 3. That then turn brings him in command, and we are flowing from a higher to a lower rating to determine our command. This 8-0, assuming he was in command because everyone else was. 1, 2, 3. He's also in command now, and 1, 2, 3. He is outside of the command range of this 7-0. So he would need to roll. Now, let's assume on our 2-6 roll, he rolls a 10. He fails his command. What does that mean? That means anybody that needs to activate that is outside of the range of this closest in-command leader would need to conduct their own individual command roll. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That means this unit, this unit, this unit, this unit, as well as this and this unit would have to conduct individual command rolls to determine if they are in command. And those command ratings are coincide with their morale rating. And so, for instance, this line unit would need to roll a 7 or less. The cavalry unit would need to roll an 8 or less. This artillery unit would need to roll an 8 or less. That is essentially how command structure works. I find it rather easily understandable and effective and fluid. A couple other caveats to consider: enemy units and zones of control. And I understand that zones of control are a little difficult to implement on a table if you don't have hexes, as I do on my table. So you could come up with a kind of 4-inch radius that comes from, if you measure diagonally from the, for instance, this unit, measure diagonally from the unit's rear right corner through the front left corner, 4 inches out. That would be their zone of control. But here we have it easily laid out for us. So if we had, for instance, this unit, right, well, let's see. If this unit was right here, and what's a better way to explain this? Yeah, that's fine. So if we had this unit was here, now typically this guy is in command. Let's say he'd failed his command roll. This guy would, though, be in command because he is within a 3-hex proximity to this guy, this leader, who is in command. However, if we brought this gentleman to reside here, his presence would effectively block that command reach. So that would be done by 2 different ways. His physical presence here in the hex would block command tracing through that hex. However, if we traced command through this hex, that hex would also be blocked because of his zone of control. This guy would effectively be cut off from command through his in-command leader, and to activate would have to roll for his own morale. Hope that makes sense. This has been the command structure section of the DEP or Defiler on Parade rules, and I'll see you in the next rule section.